But now, is that better? I'll try to use my command voice. No. Never was very good at that. There. All right. So thank you so much for the introduction, and thanks for the opportunity to come here and talk about this stuff. I think we're all, myself included, even though as a DARPA program manager, I'm still learning. And I think we're going to be learning for a while until ARPA H is fully actualized. We're all going to be spending a lot of time trying to figure out what this thing is, not the least of which are the people who are actually there right now building the project, because I don't even think they know exactly how this whole thing's going to turn out, truthfully. And one of the reasons why I labeled the talk Advanced Research Projects Agencies writ large, or ARPAs, and not just focusing on ARPA H, is because there's more than one ARPA that's in the government right now. And I think it's important also to just understand that if DARPA is the template for this new organization, it's good for people to understand, well, what makes it different and special, and not necessarily the research, the way you want to do all your research or most of your research or the majority of your research, but just a small amount of it. So just a quick disclaimer. I used, if I have some things about the ARPA goals or methods or whatever, I take, a grab from their website and I put that in a slide so that I'm not deviating from what they're telling people, but I will add some commentary to some of those things, but I'm not advocating it. I have no commercial conflict or anything with this. So just a quick history about the ARPA model and kind of how it came into being. For those of you who don't know, it was birthed out of a huge embarrassment debacle for the United States. So one morning, President Eisenhower was woken up by his aides, and they were told the Ruskies put a satellite into space. It's called Sputnik. It's broadcasting right now, and they beat us to the punch by several months. And this was totally, there was no thought that the Russians were ever even close to putting a satellite into space. And of course, the implications from a national security perspective were that if the Russians can put a satellite into space, they can certainly land an ICBM anywhere they want to in the United States if they have the rocket technology that can put something into orbit. So Eisenhower was displeased, to say the least, with the NSF in particular, and he had been a university president at Columbia, knew quite a few people across the spectrum, and he tapped a friend of his, Dr. Killian, who was the president of MIT at the time, to basically, in an instant, build an agency that was completely outside the contracting rules of the DoD, completely outside of the methods used by the NSF to do what he saw as incremental research, and to basically advance us way beyond the Russians in every category. So it became, an obsession with him. And, money was no object. And basically they stood this agency up, the Advanced Research Projects Agency, which has arguably advanced the ball in so many different areas. But let me just say, one of the things that, we could go through all the different advancements, but the one that people use every day, people have in their pockets, even including, we're doing this over Zoom, which is going through the internet, is in 1966, what is now I2O, but was called IPTO at the time, started a little program to link computers using packet switching between computer locations, and they called it ARPANET, and today, of course, we call it Internet. But that was just one of many, many things that DARPA created, that has literally created the future. In 1973, it was felt that, and this was toward the end of the Vietnam War, it was felt that DARPA had kind of lost its way, and they created something called the Mansfield Act, which radically shrunk the agency. For a while, it caused DARPA to only focus on Department of Defense related research and nothing else. And what that inadvertently did was, some people feel that that created the computer revolution for one reason. Even though DARPA had funded a bunch of computer projects like the mouse and like voice processing and stuff, all those things were done at DARPA. They were all sort of held within the military. With the Mansfield Act pushing all that research outside of the DoD and DARPA, it caused all these people to, particularly in Silicon Valley, it wasn't called Silicon Valley then, but basically they had to find other work to do. So they started building PCs, they started, using chips for other reasons outside of Department of Defense, and the whole PC and computer revolution was born accidentally out of that. So sometimes innovation comes out of DARPA completely out of the blue. By the way, that's the original diagram for the internet right there. So the DARPA budget is $4.1 billion US on the unclassified side. Classified side, you really don't need to know, right? Not your business. But the unclassified work is about $4.1 billion budget. When I was there, it was about 3.1 billion. So it just incrementally gets bigger. And there's about 100 program managers, and it's really an organization that's centered around really two individuals, either a program manager, the one of the 100, or the DARPA director. It's a very flat organization. Now, are there other people in between? Yeah, and I'll tell you about them, but basically it's a program manager driven organization. All right. So they're term limited. That's a very important thing for you to understand. They're only there from 3 to 5 years. There's an occasional program manager, there's 6. I was there for 4, and by choice, I left. I was actually, they wanted me to extend another year, but I left a year before they wanted me to. So when you're dealing with an agency, if they're using the DARPA model, just understand this. At the NIH or NSF, it's investigator driven. You have the idea, you have the research, you go, it's like this. And they say, okay, yeah, I'll put it in front of a study section and they'll score it. And then maybe you get the money, you don't. With DARPA, it's the program manager's big idea. And you then apply to their big idea. And if you don't match their big idea, you don't get funding. It doesn't matter. You could have the Lasker Award. You could be this super, you could be, super respected at the NIH. But if you're not responsive to what the program manager is trying to build as a program, you're not going to get funded. And then they have a very broad latitude about what they fund. So they don't remember that a program manager as the single solitary unit that disperses money out of the agency, the one thing to understand is they have to sing for their supper too. So they have to make sure that they go to tech council and make sure that the director fixes her signature on their program. And if they don't, they're done. And then they leave the agency even earlier than I've seen program managers leave within 3 months because they just couldn't come up with an idea that could get through tech council, and everyone lost patience. And they're actively engaged with what we call performers. So performers are the researchers. And the reason they're called performers is because they have to perform for their money. They don't just have the opportunity to collect money and file a report. So, and some of this is taken directly, off the website. So what is the secret sauce of DARPA? It's really about the culture, and it's a very highly competitive culture. Program managers aren't nobodies. They're not the most senior people in their field. They're mid-career people, but they're people that a lot of folks have identified as this is an up and coming, genius, whatever that's in their area. And so, and they're risk takers. They look for risk takers. And somebody asked me a question I didn't put on the slide, but I should have, which is this, is that people need to understand that when they're recruited, they have to have a big idea. So it's not like you come in, you have this thick resume and you say, yep, I'm ready to be a program manager because I'm super and look at all my papers I've published. The first question that's going to be out is, what's your big idea? And then give me your other big idea. Do you have any other big ideas? And it's all about your big idea. And if you go in for your interview and you don't have a big idea, you could have a very thick CV, you could be a very accomplished person, you're not getting a job. So you yourself have to be a big ideas person to be a program manager. So when you're interacting with them, just understand that they put their reputation on the line by telling the DARPA director, I want to come to work at DARPA because I have big idea X that I want to change the world. And then now they're going out to find you or some researcher to help them fulfill that big idea. And quite honestly, there would be days where we would sit around, and I'm not kidding, there would be days where we didn't do any reviewing of grants or anything like that. We would literally sit around with coffee and go, what's the year 2050 going to look like? What are we going to do with people who are all displaced with automation and AI? What kinds of technology could we come with to prevent a revolution in America? And you'd go for like 3 hours riffing, and you'd have astrophysicists and biologists and engineers and mathematicians all riffing on this topic of, well, what's going to happen in 30 years? And you'd never have that conversation at the NIH. Haven't worked there. You wouldn't have that. I mean, you might have it at the lunch hall, but you wouldn't have that conversation regarding what kind of work you're going to fund, right? But that's the mindset. It's a flat, nimble organization that thinks big and big ideas. And program managers are recruited a lot from academia, and then I'd say in the biological sciences about 90%. But people recruited from corporations or recruited from Google or Microsoft or small corporations. DARPA, although it has a reputation for granting most of its money to large entities and corporations and CROs, when it comes to the biological sciences, it's mostly funding research universities. And the other thing that people should understand is that's distinct and different about the DARPA mechanism is that there's something that's euphemistically, it doesn't say the DARPA clause in your contract, but remember the money's issued out to the performers, not through a grant or a cooperative agreement. It's issued through a contract. And in the contract, there's something that's euphemistically called the DARPA clause. And what's the DARPA clause? It basically, in layman's language, is we can decide at any time for any reason to cut off your money. All right. And it's not that it was done capriciously, but I would get a lot of, if I swept somebody's money for some reason, I would sometimes get impassioned, very angry people on the other end of the phone. And they would complain to their congressman, which would go nowhere because the congressman knows, don't call DARPA PM to complain about their constituent. It's not going to go anywhere. Okay, it will with other parts of the government, with the NIH, it would go somewhere. It would definitely be addressing down if a congressman called a study section lead, but it ain't happening at DARPA. They can cut their money at any time and for any reason. And I can get into afterwards privately. I can tell you some reasons why money would get cut off. So the other thing that they do is that they find usually the directors have some experience with DARPA themselves as a performer, as an office manager, as a PM. But these people have to be bulletproof because when they go to Congress, and sadly, this is going to be even worse for Renee as she has to go to report to Congress, because the fact of the matter is that they're getting these big budgets to come up with the big ideas, and everybody's got a short attention span and they want productivity. The DARPA director has at least the out that they can look at the congressman and congresswoman and say, well, let's take this to classified session. I need to talk about this on a classified level. Renee's not going to have that ability. So just have everyone say prayers for Renee. So if you didn't know, there's quite a few DARPAs, quite a few ARPAs that people don't even know about. The first son of DARPA or whatever was HS ARPA. Did you guys know that there's a Homeland Security ARPA? IARPA is really one that you only know about if you do a lot of, they fund a lot of unclassified work, believe it or not, but there's a lot. If people are familiar with the organization Incutel, which is a venture capital firm run out of the CIA, So the Intel community has its own ARPA. It does its own work. Department of Energy has ARPA E, you know, again, was supposed to replicate. And then Japan has launched, the UK, I didn't put the UK on here, but the UK recently launched their desire to, it used to be Q Labs in Farnborough, but they closed down 20 years ago. They're relaunching Q. By the way, if you guys have ever seen James Bond movies and heard of Q, that's it stands for quartermaster, but anyway. And then Germany has but none of them have been able to really, other than DARPA, have been really able to institute the DARPA model. It's just there's 6 technical offices at DARPA and then 2 non-technical offices. So I'll just go through them. One thing I do want to say, I know that we probably have some people from like the School of Engineering and so on. The people in the biomedical sciences need to understand this about this creation of ARPA-H. You know, and I got this directly from the DARPA director. They've been told by the White House, anything that involves biomedical science that does not have a direct DoD task, we want you to push over to ARPA-H. So as we speak, program managers and programs are moving over to ARPA-H out of DARPA. And so I'm not sure what's going to happen with Biotechnology's office, because they were doing a lot of work that had very little to do with direct defense related stuff. But I suspect that at least half the program managers may be shifting. No one said to me half the program managers are going to move, but they did say quite a few projects out of BTO will move over to ARPA-H. I worked at something called Defense Sciences Office, and that's DARPA's DARPA. So even an agency like DARPA that does a lot of spooky stuff, even has its little corner of crazies that do things even crazier than the agency itself, right? So I worked in the crazy of crazy. I worked where we would have conversations about, you know, why do people eat lunch, and what is could people eat 2 meals a day routinely and not? Anyway, I don't know. It's just whatever. This and DSO is really what a lot of science fiction writers, when they're writing about DARPA, that's the office, because it's creating the future. I2O, which used to be called IPTO, that's the office that created the internet. STO, they do strategic command and control of things that go bump in the night. TTO, so drones, you know, drone technology, that kind of stuff. Space systems, space-based defense systems. Microsystems technology is chips. So this CHIPS initiative, a bolus of money came to the agency that way for that. Adaptive Execution Office is basically a group of people that take the spinoffs of here and try to get through the valley of death to get rapid execution into the force. So if somebody's working on a technology about encryption of, you know, radio signals, and it looks like a winner, and there's a small company built out of it, and they're like, wow, this is really great. These guys get some extra money to go ahead and productize it, maybe get it into the hands of a big corporation like Harris Corporation or Lockheed Martin, and get it out to the field as quickly as possible. And then the director's office called DIRO, and even the director is called DIRO. So sometimes if you're in the hallway and you're talking about Stephanie Tompkins, who's the director, you wouldn't say, hey, Stephanie says, you'd say DIRO wants, you know, X, Y, or Z. So in DARPA parlance. This slide here, this is the holy slide of DARPA, which is when you are a program manager and you go before Tech Council, you're wise to just put it in the Hallmeyer Catechism, but your idea, and just lay it out that way, you're gonna be safe. But the fact of the matter is your slides better have every Hallmeyer question answered. And I'll just go through them because they're so important. And by the way, I have very little doubt that Renee, who's running the ARPA-H, is going to deviate from this. I think she's going to use it. So what are you trying to do? Articulate your objectives in absolutely no jargon. So in academia, we love to lard up our talk with, you know, every $64 word we can find. It's when you're giving your talk, when you're talking to Tech Council, because remember, around Tech Council, You've got people who are engineers, you know, mathematicians around the room. They have no idea what biology is. You better use simple language, and it actually creates a mental discipline to stop using that as a crutch, right? This is really, I find this actually a great way to think about pitching a great new idea. How is it done today, and what are the limits of the current practice, right? What's blocking you from achieving what you think could be a great breakthrough? What is new in your approach, and why do you think it will be successful? So they're not, it's the idea that they're interested in funding anything, and they're totally detached from the idea of success is not really true. It's that they're willing to embark on things that may not be successful. Refreshing, right? Who cares? If you're successful, what difference will it make? Either to a customer, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, or the world, right? What are the risks? And when they mean risks, they don't mean like, well, will people die from this if this technology, they mean what are the risks from, like, how do you mitigate risks in your research to make sure that things that could derail your research stay on track? How much is it going to cost? How long is it going to take? And what are the midterm and final exams for success? So it's, again, it's a highly competitive, outcomes oriented kind of, but it's okay to fail, all right? As long as you understand why you failed, and as long as you're able to articulate why that failure is an important thing to learn. So, you know, I've already talked about the PM. I will say this, and I would encourage any wonderful American who wants to, you know, serve the country and has an academic position, but wants to perhaps leave the university for a little bit, maybe it doesn't have to be full time. You can like go to DC for 3 days a week, keep your house here, have an apartment in DC. But or with this new ARPA H model, who knows where they're going to have the places, or whether or not they'll even make people move around. But I would encourage people here to think about becoming a DARPA PM. A PM at an ARPA agency. But they are this HQE is really not applicable. That's a highly qualified expert. IPA employee, it doesn't mean the beer. It's Intergovernmental Personnel Act, and you basically are employed still by your university. Your university is paid by the government to rent you, okay, and rent your services. So you stay faculty, you stay, your paycheck comes from your university. There's money put into your retirement account. There's money put in, and you basically get the top end salary that you can make is the member of Congress, whatever that's, whatever, 250,000 or something. And it's mostly selected from mid-career, late career experts. So it's not for, you know, young people. There's a whole separate process for that. CETAs are the science and engineering and technical advisors or assistants. And in fact, Renee was my CETA on several programs, including Indika's, and then she was a PM for him, right? So CETAs are very, very, very important to the equation. CETAs are your helpers, but in some cases, like for instance, one of my CETAs was a former full professor at MIT in the Department of Electrical Engineering, you know, who had like 50 patents. He worked for me, right? So academically, everything else, he was senior to me. And part of the job of the CETA is to not just be, you know, your helper scurrying around stuff. They are there to make you successful with your big idea. And they can do all sorts of things, help you with your reviews, do all this other stuff. The thing they can't do is they can't affix their signature on the contract. They can't do something that is not inherently governmental. But if you're calling and you're trying to get a hold of PM and you get a hold of a CETA on the phone and you're like, yeah, well, I'll just, you know, I'll wait till Macedonia gets in, you know, and have an attitude, just understand this. The CETA is the person taking care of the PM. And if you dog out their assistance, woe unto you. You may just find out next week your money's been swept. Okay. So piece of advice, be nice to the CETAs. Okay. And in some cases, the CETAs are making more money than the PM, you know, because they're working for Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman. Okay, So under these big contracts. So this is a little hard to read, but I wanted to show that that Michigan is decidedly within, by all stretches of imagination, every which way to Sunday, including, believe it or not, in DARPA. I think the reason why Michigan shows up number 8 at DARPA, but people don't really realize that, is because a lot of the money is heading into School of Engineering or other stuff, and I think people just, and they're part of major consortiums, but the checks get cut to. And then this is compared to the NIH recipients, and the dollar amounts are wonky, right? It happened when I converted this from a Microsoft PowerPoint to a Google slide. Somehow and then back again, it added some things. But in any case, just look at the rankings of who gets the top NIH awards. Of course, we all know, man's greatest hospital gets the #1 position. But in any case, Michigan is here in 19. Now, just to get, I want to give you an insight, and we got Indika coming, and he's going to talk to you about his experiences being a performer, and so we're kind of tag teaming it. Make sure I'm on time. This was the actual slide that got a program that lasted 7 years, and I think ultimately close to 200 million. I initially got a $40 million tranche in the first pitch. But this is the slide that got me the money. And it was a high stakes meeting with the director because I'd already failed at Tech Council 6 times with the same idea. And it has a record at DARPA. I own the record, most pitches without being fired, right, for the same idea. So this was a program called Biochronicity. And to tell you how crazy an idea this is. So what I was saying here in this slide was in World War II, Alan Turing had this crazy idea because what happened is the Germans found out that we cracked the Enigma code and they added another rotor and they completely scrambled the code. So we went back to ground zero. So he's like, how do I overcome this? So he talked to Churchill, or not him, but his bosses talked to Churchill about, let's go out and put depth charges down to submarines, but try not to kill them. And that was like, what do you mean try not to kill them? It's like, let them surface, let us record what they're saying, and then that'll help us crack the code. So they're like, what do you mean? It's like, well, if you know what information is there, you reduce the dimensionality of the problem, and then you can crack the code easier. So that's exactly what they did. They went around the Atlantic, and instead of killing the submarines, they would drop depth charges, wait for it to go to the surface. They'd have a listening ship. They would take the signal, and they would know that that person was telling their location. They were telling, what happened to them. So they knew words like depth charge and stuff were in the code, and it helped them much more quickly crack the second code, right? The second. And so I said, why don't we do that with biology? Why don't we do things where we push organisms, we sequence, we look at what is being transcriptionally, translationally, or happening in the cell, and then know that whatever it is that we're doing is creating that signal, in the weird effort of trying to actually crack the code as though it were a computer code. And it's a very simple-minded kind of one slide. We all know there's a lot more complex than that. But it was like, how do we apply network theory and big data analytics? This was back in 2011, and robots to do this stuff. And that's how Indika got pulled in later in the biochronicity. And then this was a later slide that was used to tell Congress what we were doing with biochronicity. And these were all the areas that we were working in. So there were teams that were simultaneously doing this very high-end analytic work with computers and stuff, but we attached each one of them to a real-world problem so that they could focus their mind on things. Everything from neurodegeneration and human performance, dealing with infectious diseases. We were working on malaria at the time. Cellulosic biofuels, suicidality. It seems far-fetched, but we had successes in all those domains. And biochronicity is one of the most successful programs that people have never heard of. The broad agency announcement. So so DARPA, and I'm sure ARPA-H is going to work with the same mechanism. they put out like the widest possible net from the agency level to make sure that if somebody comes in the door and has this amazing idea, that at least they can drop that on the desk of the director. And the director may call around to PMs and say, are you interested in this? This looks like a really cool idea. Each office also has an office-wide broad agency announcement that people can apply to for grants. And then in addition, there's individual projects that are announced through FedBiz that you can set your FedBizOps at grants.gov, and you can set keyword searches for it and look for when a program manager does what's called a proposers day. And a proposers day is basically a come one, come all. I'm going to talk to you about my big idea. I'm going to tell you what the structure of the program is. You decide whether or not you want to apply to it. Here's my CETAs. They can help you. If you've never interacted with DARPA before, they can help you understand. They can send you templates. They can send you examples of proposals that people have submitted and been successful. So DARPA really, it's not, they don't want your inexperience in dealing with DARPA to be a hindrance for you to apply to DARPA. So they don't want to make it kabuki theater. So the only people who are, the elites of the elites. So it's kind of very opposite of, say, NIH, where there's a lot of, where you have to go through years and years of understanding exactly how to get that R01 perfect. It's the opposite. I want your big idea. I don't want that to be a hindrance, but you do have to be responsive to the proposal. So if I'm doing something called biochronicity and I'm looking at, how the genetic code is, how we can decode it, and you submit something to me on metabolomics over here that has nothing to do with it, you're unresponsive, and I don't even want to even look at it, right? I don't care how smart you are. You could be a Lasker Award winner. I really don't care. You're not responsive to my broad agency announcement, my proposal. There's something else called Young Faculty Award. Did you get a YFA? Yeah. Oh, okay. I couldn't remember. So, and people like myself would volunteer to so there was a bolus of money in the range of about $250,000 to $500,000, 24 months of research. And people, look, this is low hanging fruit for young faculty. You should encourage all your young faculty to look at this stuff. So Young Faculty Award, they're brought in to present their proposal. They're selected from America's best universities, and they get 500,000, 24 months. It's great. It's like a MacArthur grant, in many ways. And then you have usually a DARPA program manager assigned to you to sort of help you along the way, like just show you the ropes, take you out to lunch. That money doesn't get swept unless you're just completely unethical with it. That's a different, YFA is secured money for you. So what are I've hit on a lot of these points, so I'll skip over them if I've already hit it, but it's radically idea driven, not investigator driven. Okay, so you've heard me use that word big idea a lot because that's what it is. And the results are measured in change, not scientific papers and stuff like that. Not that they're completely, it's not like they're agnostic to the idea of papers and publications. That's all, it was always neat to be able to say, hey, there was a paper published in Nature or Cell or Science. I'm not saying that, but it's that's not measurement of progress. That is not the end goal of a DARPA program, to make great papers. The end goal is to change what's happening in a particular field. It's a very flat organization with the program manager. They do have an office director, but really the PM and the DIRO are the official, the director and the PM. 100 of these and one of them. If you have an MBA, keep it yourself. Don't tell anybody in the building. There's people literally get an allergic reaction if you say MBA. It's like, oh my God. Just don't, right? Just don't. Okay. it's a very anti-bureaucratic organization. It's not under the civil service. Okay, so none of the people are, the hire, fire, all that stuff is outside civil service, and there's not the civil service attitude. And even amongst the people that work in the building, it's the least having worked throughout the federal agencies, DARPA has even amongst the career civil servants that are there, have kind of a totally different ethos. They are driven. The one of the secrets to DARPA is to make sure that DARPA program managers don't stick around too long. And it creates one inefficiency that people think, it seems counterintuitive, because every once in a while you say DARPA program that, like, hey, didn't they do that 15 years ago? Which is true sometimes, that they'll have a program that looks eerily similar to one that was done 15 years ago. And people say, oh, that's because this program manager forgot what. No, it's because somebody else came into tech council and said, that idea that was a good idea 15 years ago that didn't pan out, I think I can do it now. Let me have a whack at the ball. And so that turnover keeps things fresh, and it keeps the whole idea system churning and moving along. So DARPA has lots of money, but not too much. I mean, look at the DARPA budget compared to NIH. DARPA has 4.1 billion versus NIH's 40 billion a year. I talked about CETAs already, and always remember that these are done by contracts, not grants or cooperative agreements, almost uniformly. So ARPA-H, created by special legislation signed off by the president. They wanted to push 1.5 billion to the agency, but in the final budget reconciliation at the end of December on the omnibus, it ended up being 1 billion. And that's not, I don't think that's a bad thing. And the reason why is that if ARPA-H is not able to execute their dollars and has to push money back to the treasury, that's a very bad thing. So having too much money, believe it or not, in an agency can be a problem for you. It can be a problem for you in the long term, because if they see that kind of thing, if you max out 1 billion, that's one thing. If you don't max out 1.5 billion, that can tell people, well, that's your limit. This is directly from the inside of ARPA-H. Struggles are ongoing, lots of political battles, and we're not just talking, political parties battles. We're talking about political battles within the federal agencies, the NIH, and they're getting a lot of support from the White House. They're getting a lot of support from DOD, believe it or not, to try to stand up ARPA-H. But there's a lot of people who see ARPA-H as just competition for money. So I talked about that. One of the things that Congress decided to really stick a finger in the eye of the NIH is to say that the sites have to be off campus of the NIH. And whether or not that's sufficient to sort of give it some degree of independence, I think ideally what would happen is, rather than doing this thing over and over again to stick a finger in the eye of the NIH, is to really spend more time convincing the leadership of the NIH why they really needed ARPA-H. Because I don't think it's good to be housed under an agency, but constantly be told why the very existence of the agency is because you don't do your job well. I don't think that's a winning strategy. But that's me. That's my opinion. So right now the current runners up, including interesting North Carolina, including former Michigan people in North Carolina, are trying to get an ARPA-H site set up. But the usual suspects, we all know that California, Massachusetts have a strong possibility, Pennsylvania, Texas. So these are all, I honestly don't know where they're going to go. So I'm not going to read these to you. You can go to the ARPA-H website. So they have in the legislation the priorities of the agency, and of course cancer and other chronic diseases are way up there. So you should take a look through that list, and if you see things that kind of, oh yeah, that's the area I'm working in, you ought to consider putting in a grant. or put in for a contract. Healthcare equity and quality. So there's already several NIH and HHS agencies that are stood up for this. So some people might view it as redundant. I think it's a way for people who have really innovative approaches, but don't have that slick NIH or ARC avenue of funding may look at this. Particularly if you're talking like things like big data analytics or other stuff that's sort of not in the usual research space. So in summary, it's not for everyone, and it shouldn't be for everyone. It's not, you know, if you're a person who enjoys the incremental method of research, stay with that, right? And we need that. I mean, there's a need for incremental research. It's not no sin, but we also need some breakthroughs at the same time. Don't think about funding your grad students, please, with DARPA or any ARPA mechanism, because that money could get swept. I literally had one investigator call me and try to chew me out because he said, what am I going to do about my grad students? And I'm like, I don't know what you're going to have to do with your grad students. Maybe you need to put in for some grant money or talk to your dean, but it's not my problem, okay? I'm not a welfare system for grad students. And, you know, if you have a great world-changing idea, one of you in the audience, think about going to one of these things. And the last thing I'll say is, you know, the world's a really dangerous place if you haven't noticed, like, and it's not just from like some threat from a foreign actor or whatever. It's like the world's a dangerous place. We have COVID, we have, you know, global climate change. There's a great need for great people to come and work for the government. So despite what people say about working for the government, I found the 4 years that I worked for the DARPA as such an incredible experience. And I would really encourage mid-career people to really think about that as a potential career option. I can tell you that both Renee and Stephanie Tompkins, they're both asking for great people to apply to come. And there is a call out, by the way, announced on the web and announced on FedBiz and at grants.gov for these program manager positions. So if you have somebody at Michigan who's interested in doing something like this, the craziness that I had, it'd be great. No. Oh, okay. All right. So pull your slides up.
So we will have no break. We'll continue with the Indika. Indika is a associate professor in computation medicine, bioinformatics. By training, he's electrical engineering and mathematics, but he's doing really cool stuff. He is doing biology. It's a very, very odd combination, Indika. So that's why he got a pretty good DARPA grant type of study. So he will share with us his experience for work with the DARPA type of grant, how to write, how to work with them. Indika.
Thank you. So I think I was so fortunate to meet many people beginning when I switched to biology. I'll tell you a little bit few stories and how to write. I have been funded by DARPA almost now 8 years, as well as I got funding from DARPA to start a small company. So I have some experience with DARPA, how to write and how to think. But first I want to show you a small email I got. This is you see the top, because I was a postdoc at Hutchinson Cancer Center. And this is 2012 from Dr. Macedonia. So I want to tell you the story. So really, I was a postdoc with Mark Grudin. I don't know if you know. Mark is a biologist, and Dr. Grudin's neighbor was Mark Roth. It's so important sometimes to find people. Okay, this is Mark. So Mark is one of the craziest biologists I ever met. and what happened was Mike was a postdoc. So we ran in the morning together. See, there is a DARPA initiative called biochronicity. So and Mark brought the inventor. He had an idea of And if you give a toxic gas called hydrogen sulfide to animals, you can put animals into suspended animation. So it's like acquired control over time. So then I told to Mike, I know that you control, this is all about control. So then he put this down. An algorithm for control biological time. Right? So I had fun writing. And I think end up with 4 million or 3.4, yeah, 4 million.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
It doesn't know is this. So, and it's been long enough that I can share this. But. That's right.
Oh, you
Be on Zoom because we're on Zoom, because they need the microphone. So what Indika doesn't know is this part, is that we got the proposal and there were some CETAs and they're like, Mark Roth, he already got some money for his suspended animation stuff. Why are we even looking at this? And I flipped it up and I said, and I flipped to your sections on the, and I said, do you see this? He understands what I'm trying to get at. That there is a core mathematics to the operation of the genome, and through the conceit of understanding how time is managed inside the genome, we can use Mark Roth's successful experiments in suspended animation to understand this process of how the cell shuts itself down. And I pointed to your sections. So it's, you got him that money, because without your sections, he wouldn't have got that money. It was your stuff. I didn't know it was you at the time. I didn't know. I just said, well, if you look here, Roth was listening to me because this is exactly what I want. So anyway, Indika doesn't know. That's for.
So this I'm going to do it. So this is the time I was applying jobs to come go somewhere. It's the time, like I came to Michigan 2013. So I got this email from Dr. Macedonia. This is like big guys here, John Hara. All the, if you see that he gave this idea called binary oracle, right? So that means genome may be computable. So this is end up now. So I think it's okay to say that, right? So, so 2018, I will tell you a lot of stories, but 2018, DARPA gave me money to start a company. And now Dr. Macedonia is the CEO of the company called I Reprogram. So our motto is biology is computable, right? So this is started to, one thing I love about it, that the DARPA program managers become your friends, right? Not like other, I had a KO from NIH when I was a postdoc, but I love DARPA because you can talk with them. They are very smart, right? And we had so many discussions. And every month, some people who are maybe you or some of you familiar with DARPA has little bit hard sometimes. Every month you need to write a report, what you do. I think that's the best thing happened to me. I really love every month what I did. Right? I was trying to become to just starting my career, and that discussions I had with Dr. Macedonia, and then I met many other program managers at DARPA. So that's something. So I was not prepared this way to tell. So this is the second grant. I think the second grant I got Dr. Macedonia, right? This one, the title is, I put algorithm for cellular reprogramming. This is a one slide. This is the main slide. So how to, oh. Yeah, algorithm for cellular reprogramming. So this is part of after biochronicity.
Yeah, and I already left the agency, so he got this on his own.
And just give you again, so
That's right.
it's a contract. Yeah. But thing is, to make this slide is the hardest thing. One slide, you need to tell what you want to do. Right? And I spent like hours and hours to making this slide. And I don't know, this is the last one, but I have really, the first thing is I really want to tell you all, talk to other people. We need to talk with different backgrounds. Right? That's the way to DARPA style. And even for me, my friends are in different fields. Right? I talk to engineers and math and not physicists though. I never work with physicists, but math, engineers and biologists. Right? And then new ideas will come. And for me, like when you are a DARPA performer, you can request, I want to come to DARPA, and I have idea to tell. I done many times. I just go there and you have a whiteboard and I tell my idea. Sometimes they like your idea, sometimes no, but I still have that this is the big idea I have, I want to tell. Right? And Dr. Macedonia, one thing I love is that change the world. These are big ideas like Sri. I have so many friends still in DARPA. And that motto, that change the world. That's so powerful to me, right? And I can do something, and I can think myself, right? That's what I think very unique about writing grants to DARPA, and that will be the ARPA style should be too. I really personally believe that, right? And this one is anyway. Anybody in the future like to write ARPA or DARPA grants, I'm happy to help. I have some experience, right? So I have no limited time here to show everything, but this is like a report, every monthly reports I used to write. My accomplishment, one page, right? It was so nice. And anyway, so this is one I want to show. So I want to show you this slide to you all, right? And as Dr. Macedonia said, this writing DARPA grant is like some aspect of like science fiction. And I was so fortunate in my chancellor of my university was Arthur C. Clarke back in Sri Lanka. And you need to think future, not just like 2 years from now and 10 years from now, right? And I highly encourage you to read little science fictions who are not reading science fictions. In fact, Mark Roth came the idea of suspended animation, reading a book by Arthur C. Clarke, The Songs from the Distant Earth. And again, it's a different style for me, how I want to write idea to DARPA. Some get clarity. I love mathematics. I love biology. But mathematics give me always the clarity, how I can put something together. And this is another grant I got funded. This is one slide. I don't know if I ever put this kind of idea to other agencies, I will get funded towards the definition of emergence. I had so much fun doing this project. And I'm still working with Dr. Smale on this project. And recently, Dr. Macedonia, I have to, so I will show you something. So this one, I just put this one recently, just for fun. Sorry. I just put recently this one. So how to do this one? Okay, that's fine. So this grant, I just put this one few weeks ago. It's that to answer certain what are we trying to do, and this is a project I am working with Dr. Smale, Steve Smale, right? It's so. To thinking these questions, as Dr. Macedonia said, that Hallmeyer questions make you to think, right? And if you see like this kind of style, I use the code when I teach. And in this case, I didn't put how much money we need. Just the simple ideas. And also I want to share one more thing, few things. God. And this one, another one. You need to come up with good words when you put into that program. Good words. This is designing nimble and resilient supply chains. This is nothing to do with biology, but this was inspired by biology. There was a problem in supply chain, so we put that one. But this was Raytheon was involved with that. So I have to a little bit back out from this grant. We'll make slides and what we can do. So again, when after you get familiar with DARPA, you can give your ideas. Most of the time you will get money. Maybe you will tell what you have fun thinking about these crazy ideas. And I had few grants from DSO, and this grant I had, I think God. I2. This is another robust AI guided by the immune system. The words anyway, so I love to make big words. So this is a really nice, I didn't put the budget, so so I can show you so this is like this is the grant. Yeah.
Sure. Very often, if you're going up to the director's office, you've got quad charts. Plans down to basically operative plans. So we like it when performers understand if they can put the quad charts together, it's helpful. So I gave him one time ago the template for that.
Yeah. And this is like this is the funded DARPA grant. And little bit math you want to put, and these are like thinking about the immune system very differently. They got funded, yeah. And in fact, I apply for a patent for this one, immune system inspired learning system. So I have a good, I think, experience with now way of thinking. And the company I reprogrammed, Renee was one of the program managers. And it's so nice. She's the now head of ARPA. One other thing, I think Dushan asked me to show how like models but the other thing is you need to have presentations very often. You have to go and present to these big teams. All the DARPA performance come and you need to present what you're doing. Right? That's another great opportunity. So this is one, I think my first presentation. So Mark, Mihran. So this is very simple slide we make. Time is proportional to animation. Suspended animation, stop time. Right? And so I had so much fun. This again, my advice is to write in ARPA or ARPA grants. Bring a little bit mathematics. Clean mathematics. You don't need to have a PI. Yeah. Just some mathematical clarity. Right. Write some differential equations. Or some tests like some like networks, hypergraphs. Some mathematical notations. So important for my experience writing DARPA.
I think ARPA H probably, DARPA is very much a kingdom of engineers and computer scientists, and so it was always helpful to come in. And there was kind of almost an allergy if you started talking about p-values. It's kind of like, you're gonna show us statistics? Oh, come on. There was kind of like, please, it's a little pedestrian. And so so yeah. And that was true when I would have to take stuff to tech council. I would have to really defend stuff, not by showing a bell curve or a distribution. I would have to show, you know, other reasons why this was a DARPA hard problem. Whenever they would see that stuff, it would instantly say, NIH, NSF. They would just say, we don't want to even look at it. So anyway, so there is I'll disagree with you a little bit on that comment, but there is a grain of truth at least to it. Whereas ARPA H, because it's going to be really focused on biomedical sciences, I don't think they're going to be as allergic to, and they're going to be a little bit more tolerant of research that's not your level of mathematics, and no one's at your level of math. So
No. Yeah. Sure.
Indika was a franchise player. Let me put it that way. I do too, but not everybody thinks that way.
But lastly, so we are really good friends for almost more than 10 years. So that happened because of that relationship with program managers. Right? I have other program managers. I'm really good friend. There's another person, Sri Kumar. Sri is like the dad. Like you can call him up. I have idea. So again, I think this is an amazing opportunity. We can, as a Michigan, we can be a big part of ARPA-H as well as still DARPA.
Yeah.
You can put DARPA grants from medical school or pharmacy school. There's so many opportunities.
Great, thank you. We will continue with our break. So you can see the ARPA grant is not a single PI or one grant. It's collaborated multiple things together. So today we also have glad to have Rachel Wallace from OVPR. She's the research development officer in OVPR. Her role is actually help everybody to put a bigger grant together, help them edit, manage, or help you put a bigger grant together. So she, Rachel actually has trained as a chemist. She's actually one of our graduate students with a PhD in chemistry. So she has very scientific background. She can really help everybody to submit a grant. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. I think that's on. Yes. Okay, cool. Hi. As Dushan said, thank you for that kind intro, and thank you for the two speakers before me. That was really helpful. I am going to talk to you a little bit today about what our office can offer and how we can help you get these DARPA or ARPA-H grants across the finish line. The goal of our team and my office is to help take a lot of the burden off of you administratively and in proposal preparation. So that's what we're here to do. It's a great opportunity and we'd love to help you out. So please feel free to reach out. All of the resources are linked in these slides, and Dushan, they'll be sent out. Yes, okay, perfect. Okay. So if you're not familiar with research development, totally understandable. It's a pretty new field. And we sit at an interesting intersection. We are not research admin. We work very closely with research admin. I work with many of the research admins on campus, but our role is a little bit different. So we tend to not do too much compliance or anything that's really going to be like in the weeds that you're doing on research.gov. We're here to help you do sort of strategy, ideation, big picture, team formation, resource development, and really just sort of honestly herd cats is a lot of what we do, and just make sure projects are moving forward. So if you come with your big idea and you're just like, I really don't know how to move it forward from here, obviously utilize resources from experts and people who are there already. But if you're still sort of stuck, we're here to sort of, get the ball rolling and help you along. So you can sort of see where we overlap with research admin, but I am no expert in biosketches, for example. So that's a little bit of a different area. But we're all here to help you be successful and form a good project team. So sort of as a broad overview of what our office does, and I will probably, there's some more details in the next couple slides on particularly proposal development and editing. And then some workshop and webinar stuff, but that's just sort of the high level of what our office does. If you're interested in any of those, we do run the limited submissions process. Many of you are probably familiar with that. If you have submitted to a limited submission opportunity through any of the federal agencies or foundations. Our website is there, and we're just here to help you be more competitive in what you're doing. So I should say we do focus almost exclusively on pre-award. We don't do any post-award management, but we're happy to direct you to people who can help with that if you need, support post-award. So what is proposal development, at least from our point of view? It's an evolving and new field. So you could go to probably 20 different research development offices around the US and sort of get 20 different answers about what they'll help you with. What we do have a roadmap for large scale proposals. We could also have a long debate about the definition of large scale, but for anything in the sort of biomedical sciences, physical sciences, we're talking roughly 5 million and up. But we will help you with a grant that's smaller, of course, capacity available, with our capacity, but anything going to DARPA or ARPA-H, we'd be interested probably regardless. So please reach out to us. Proposal management, especially for really big proposals. As you know, there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of collaborators, a lot of subawards, collecting many bio sketches, things like that. So we can help you just strategize, put everything together, make everything run. We can work on collecting documents. I draft many letters of support. I can help with that as well. So anything that you sort of see listed there, there's going to be a project management. Red team, pink team reviews, internal, external reviews are very important. So especially if you're submitting to these big projects, we're happy to help with that. And then almost every proposal that comes to the door, we edit for clarity, consistency, organization, et cetera. And we do check against either a BAA or the RFA, FOA, pick your acronym, that we will make sure it's meeting all of the proposal requirements, especially in that project description. We do a lot of editing, and there's sort of a tongue-in-cheek explanation or thing that we say in research development that we edit the first paragraph and the last paragraph, unless I see a drug discovery or drug delivery proposal come across my desk. I am certainly no subject matter expert, but we do have, I obviously have a technical background. So, but we can't necessarily help you so much with the science, but we reread that first and last paragraph for broader impacts is sort of the joke. As I did sort of allude to earlier, we do team ideation, team development. Let's say you come in with your big idea and you just say, I don't know who the experts are. I don't know how to put this together. I don't even know how to create a cohesive idea. I just have the structure. We run, facilitation, strategic planning, things like that. We do also have a collab that link goes to a template that can help you, if you don't want to meet in person with us, but you just sort of need some structure. That's actually really big document that can help you sort of walk through everything if you just want to sort of go through that on your own. Our office does also offer graphic services. As you all know, I'm sure, graphics can make or break a proposal, and the stronger the graphics are, it just really helps boost the proposal if they look professional and well put together, consistent color scheme, consistent style. This is currently a free of charge through our office. We are limited by the capacity of the graphics artist, but as of right now, there's no recharge fee or anything. So please take advantage of that. If you're interested, you can submit a request through our website. But this is great for helping to really amp up your proposals in terms of professional. Here's just a brief list of our resources, some of which I've already sort of alluded to. This roadmap walks you through how to submit a large scale proposal from anything that's, I think it starts at 12 to 18 months out, and everything that you're going to want to do up until the submission deadline. And it just walks you through step by step everything to consider, many of which is probably applicable to these ARPA-H. We have to be as general as possible, but and I'm sure there's nuances for these grants that aren't necessarily going to be entirely applicable, but I think you can glean a lot from it. We have a lot of recorded webinars on, things that workshops we've done before, information sessions, toolkits. These toolkits are right now particularly focused on instrumentation proposals, so S10s and MRIs, but we're hoping to expand it. But if you're, those are there. We do have a proposal library of successful grants that have been funded. I'm not sure, I doubt there's any DARPA. There may be some DoD ones, but I don't know if there's any others in there. I'd have to look. But that's available. It's behind a, a level 1 login. So they're not publicly available. And if any of you are interested in contributing successful proposals, you can reach out. But we try to update and solicit. And as I said, they are behind a password. And we have a newsletter as well. Bullet challenges. If you are thinking of submitting to ARPA-H or DARPA or something similar, and you just need a little sort of boost, or you think you'd be ready in a year or whatever it is, this may be a good place to start. So bullet challenges has been around for, I think, a year now, but we're undergoing a redesign. But it's really to help boost these big proposals, make them successful. It's a support and it's a support system, basically. And intended to increase cross-school collaboration and address these complex problems. You would be assigned a project manager, someone like me or one of the other people on our team. And we would, there's going to be 2 phases, basically. There's going to be sort of an early team formation phase. And then let's say you've identified a big opportunity that's going for a really large scale grant. This would really help you put the proposal together and be a much deeper level of support. So that's ongoing right now. There is a website, and this announcement for how bullet challenges will be relaunched is coming soon, like very soon. So keep an eye out for that. The last thing I want to highlight is there's a sister team to my team. We both fall into the umbrella of research, development, and impacts, RDI. So we sit together sort of under this umbrella team. They are the team that focuses on everything public engagement, broader impacts, everything like that. So those, as you know, are very important aspects of proposals and growing more so in the review process. So should you need any, consultation or assistance in that arena, I'm happy to connect you with the Perry team. And they can help you either in grant development or consultation or deciding how you're going to move forward with these programs. I think that's it. So let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. So we have a few minutes for question. Anybody can have a question to all 3 speakers. I'll pass the microphone around. Some of the technical question for ARPA grant application. Yes.
So I have a question about the DARPA grants. Do the program managers, is there like cross-fertilization? Like, it sounds like they're driving their own like scientific idea. And if someone's like fishing, trying to find something that's in their area and they're like, I think I can help them solve this, but and they're like, well, it's not really for us, but so-and-so, like, is there cross-fertilization, crosstalk? Okay, I just didn't know if they were siloed or kind of.
No, the opposite. Yeah, there's competition, sometimes not so friendly competition within the agency. It's definitely a group of, you got to think they're recruiting all these people from elite universities and so on, and there's some sharp elbows, but for the most part, most program managers, if you call and it's not in their bailiwick, but they know somebody else down the hall is doing it or another office, they'll say, oh yeah, I'll connect you with, or let me make a virtual intro. Yeah, it's definitely not my area, but so-and-so down the hallway is doing vaccine work, or they're doing this. And let me just make a quick intro. Most are going to do that, right? I would even, and I was probably more on the extreme, but I would even like say, we're not doing it here at DARPA, but over at Office of Naval Research, or I know somebody over, at this office at Fort Detrick that's doing exactly what you're doing. And because for the most part, when you're a program manager, yeah, you're trying to get your programs to be successful, but you're also, if you're really doing your job right, you want the government to be successful. You want to connect good ideas with the right people. And so, yeah.
And if I may add one thing, so they're all the program managers now currently, you can go and check it out. What they're interested in. The email is just the first name dot last name, DARPA, MIL.
They also have a message portal to any, like, even if you don't find their email online or whatever, there's a message portal where you can write and get to them. Or you can even say to the office director, let's say, you know, generally that like you want to talk to somebody at BTO, you can say, look for the deputy office director because they run the science in the office. And who's it currently? BTO's current, you probably find online, but anyway, you would write her.
Is
And
that the one we made?
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
you would write her and then you would say, you know, research, don't make it long, and don't attach anything and don't overload them because they won't respond. So make it very simple. I'm a researcher, I'm working in this area. Is there anybody that you could connect me up with that is working in this area? And they should get back to you. Actually, I will tell you that the current DARPA director expects everybody to answer their email within 72 hours. Now, do they? No, but most do. And she got back to me pretty quickly because she's a friend. But anyway, you can do it through the portal.
All right.
So NIH has a RFA, request for application, which is really nice. They tell you exactly what they're looking for.
Mhm.
Is there RFA?
Same.
Same thing? What do I
Same.
get? Where do we get
It's
the
the RFP, request for proposal.
And where do we find that for the?
That's
So
gonna,
every project,
yeah, the same government web. So there's grants.gov and there's FedBiz Ops, and they're announced in both. And then when you click on the web link, it takes you to the specifications, including the format.
yeah. So like the Nauri, if you in the DARPA website, if you go, all the projects now, active projects, there's a link and you can just click this one that will go to.
But if you're not using FedBiz Ops or grants.gov, you should, because it has capabilities to send you email alerts based on keywords and stuff to let you know about opportunities that are out there across the interagency, so not just one agency.
Thank you. Yeah, everything.
First of all, thanks so much for doing this. This has been really great. My questions are, I guess, related to detail, format, these sorts of things for the proposals. I'm trying to get my head around the scale of the proposal typically. Is there preliminary data involved? Is it actively discouraged to have preliminary data? And what's the feedback mechanism like? If you don't get the funding the first round, is there chances to go back? What sort of feedback do you get from the review process?
That's a really good, let me see if I can break that down. So first off, you're entitled to feedback. You should ask for feedback even if it's a, positive response, but if it's a negative, it depends on the program manager, but I would encourage people, if I got called by somebody who said, you didn't fund me, but I'm really think the idea is cool. Can I attend the meetings anyway? I'd never turn somebody down for that. I'd say, come. And I even had one instance where I funded somebody. I ended up killing somebody else's program or killing somebody else's contract. And a week later, sending that money in the direction of somebody that I'd turned down the year before because they stayed with it. They kept sending me information about what they were doing in their lab and showed that they were really interested in the success of the program. And, there's an old saying, your success is my success, and my success is your success. And if you have that kind of attitude, because you want that program manager to be successful, and I don't mean like getting pats on the back and, oh, you're wonderful, but like success as in that big idea of trying to understand, well, how does the genome operate at certain levels? We should all want to have a better understanding of how it operates, and by making that program manager successful. So absolutely. And then you're always entitled to feedback. And I would get phone calls, I would say, yeah, let's set up a conference call. I'd have my CETA sit in. And I had to have some uncomfortable conversations with people. And I'd say, okay, you were unresponsive to the proposal, or you were pretty close here. Don't give up on this stuff. If you want to come back to me 6 months from now, why don't you look at some of the, the thing I found most interesting about your work was X. Look at, potentially coming back for a smaller seedling later on when there's more money coming in. Usually toward the year end, all agencies have to expend their money. Again, it's bad for you to send money back to the Treasury. So sometimes they would come down and they would say, hey, we've got we've got unexecuted money because certain people couldn't meet their contract demands. Could you use that? Yeah, I got shovel-ready project here from investigator who I couldn't fund before, but man, they've kept up.
So, yeah, I have a question. Thanks for information. For DARPA or ARPA age, all of the team member must be U.S. institution or U.S. citizens.
The answer is no, they don't have to be. I had projects like Think and the Royal Institute of Mathematics, that rat. Anyway, yeah, I funded programs in Singapore. I funded programs in the UK. You know, there's a sensitive issue. You're not going to probably see any DoD. You know, weirdly, there was a time where DoD money would go to peer competitor countries and stuff like that. Not going to happen. And I think ARPA H is also probably going to be under those same constraints. I'm thinking, is based on where things are. So you're definitely pretty safe in if they're allied with the United States, let's say, you know, Japan, Singapore, whatever, great, you know, Russia, probably not. Okay. There was a time where we did actually fund projects in Russia, believe it or not, but that's not now.
Thanks for the great session. Do we have any indication on what the timeline is for ARPA H for RFPs down the road, or when we should be thinking, you know, prospectively about preparing anything?
Well, I'll tell you, they got funded in this FY. So by 1 October, Renee's gonna have to say a report that all of her money's been expended, right? $1 billion. So there's your timeline. Now, some of that is like agency building development, that kind of stuff, but she's gonna have to set up some proposals. That's why, so if you notice that they did this roadshow with Renee, and actually she went on the road with Dr. Prabhakar, who's the OSTP, who's the Presidential Science Advisor. And for many of those, she went with Stephanie Tompkins, who's the DIRO, went with her, and they went to various parts of the country to try to tell people we're going to be putting announcements out. So I don't think it's going to be too long from now. The rate limiting step right now, believe it or not, is they couldn't hire program managers until they got the president to sign this budget, right? Because I don't know if you know this, but if you're working on a continuing budget resolution, you cannot spend things on new things. Even if it's authorized, even if the new agency was authorized by act of Congress, it doesn't matter. You can't spend money on new things. You can only continue what you've done old. So that was one rate limiting step that got over the hurdle. Now they're on a race to find program managers, which is why, can I tell you, when I talked to Dr. Tompkins, one of her thing was, tell everybody if they really want to be a program manager, this is their opportunity to put in their CV and come up with a big idea. So it's going to be soon because they got to expend the money.
Relatedly, I will say, across the federal government across the federal government, timelines for submissions have been shortening. Our office has been running a lot of fire drills on big proposals like these in the, like, once the RFP comes out, anywhere from like 6 to 12 week timelines. We've been running, like, our office has been going on these, like, lots and lots of fire drills. So,
I have to make a comment about that. So I'm in the medical school. I get into trouble many times because program managers say I need to put the grant together quickly. So that was hard. That was hard.
Any,
I call OR sometimes the ORS3, so I can call the father. So I get in trouble. Yeah.
if there's no other question, thanks to 3 speakers.